So where do I start when it comes to Akash Patel? He's exciting to listen to, astonishing in the breadth of his energy, skills, and creativity, and deeply moving in his compassion. He's transforming the experiences of students and adults around the world. He provides the most powerful keynotes and presentations. He participates in international forums and gatherings where he brings his global perspectives and makes new breakthroughs. And all along the way, Akash wins not only awards and recognitions, but hearts. He sure won mine when I first welcomed him as part of a World Language Conference for which I was a board member. You can hear the reason why in this podcast. Akash bases all his work in respect for and confidence in each person he meets, from the tiniest scholar, as he calls students, to the highest dignitary in the world. Hear about his Happy World Foundation. Hear the moving story why he established it. And add your voice to his to make the world a happier place. Enjoy the podcast. Hi, I'm Norah Jones. Welcome to It's About Language. This podcast connects language and culture to life, learning, and hope. You'll experience insightful conversations with creative leaders in the fields of education, business, arts, and science. My guests shed light on the impact of language and culture on individuals and society as they share their stories and experiences. You'll be informed and inspired as we explore how language and culture make us human and bring hope in the midst of a challenging world. It is a great pleasure to welcome to this podcast, Akash Patel. Hi, Akash.
Hi, good evening, Nora. How's it going?
It's going well, and it's going even better because you have said that you would be my guest, and I'm very, very excited about what we'll talk about together, you and I. You have provided me with a couple of statements. You have so many aspects of things that you have expressed. I am going to invite everybody that listens to this podcast to make sure to check out my website so that they can see your biography and the list of your experiences, and especially those links to things that you do say in the world. Today, you have provided this particular statement. How do we connect students while being isolated from it? And, Akash, I'd like to add that statement that comes from your Happy World Foundation website. How do we help students preview their misconceptions about other cultures and dispel stereotypes and fight bigotry and prejudice? How do we do those connections and those helps?
Absolutely, Nora. I'm so incredibly excited and thrilled to be here and looking forward to having a robust conversation with you about these themes.
That's great. And what would you say is the absolute starting push? If I said to you, we've got to do this starting tomorrow morning, because it's late enough tonight, I think, for both of us, but tomorrow we're going to go out and we're going to do this. How would you start out tomorrow doing it?
Nora, I think we are in an unprecedented time, a time when children are experiencing depression or they feel isolated. And that's exactly what I put in the theme. That how do we connect our children with the world during these unprecedented times when we are isolated from the world? So, what can we do to bring the world to our classrooms? So, a few years ago, when people did not use technology or teachers were not used to using technology as much, teachers could complain, hey, I'm not tech savvy. I don't think I could video call somebody from some other part of the world. But now we live in COVID 19 times
Yeah.
when people can complain that they aren't tech savvy. We're all tech savvy, so at Happy World, what we do is we have opened up a database of over 1,000 speakers from over 120 countries. These speakers are available for free to your listeners, whether they're a Japanese teacher, a Korean teacher, a Spanish or a French teacher. They just have got to reach out to us and be like, hey, I would like to connect my scholars to somebody from Lesotho or somebody from India, somebody from Spain, somebody from Equatorial Guinea or Venezuela, because that's what our scholars need today. During these unprecedented times, if we can help bring some joy and ignite some empathy and action civics in the classroom, What a magnitude of a difference it would make in the lives of our scholars.
Magnitude of difference is right. Now, this is found on the Happy World Foundation website that they can find these connections.
Absolutely, Nora. So it would be on happyworldfoundation.us, or you could look up our Instagram, Facebook page, and just send us a direct message. Be like, hey, I teach Spanish in rural Virginia. Or hey, I teach German and I'm in California. And I would like to connect my scholars with a native speaker of German from Germany. Or I would like to connect my scholars with native speakers of Spanish from Bolivia or from Argentina. And we will make it happen in less than 24 hours. We'll connect you with the speaker, and your job would be to connect with the speaker, send them the Zoom link or the Microsoft Teams link. And once the speaker joins your classroom, your students should be out there with their maps asking questions in target language to find out where this mystery person is from. So they could play Mystery Hangout and then engage in a conversation with this person about their country, their culture, their jobs, their professions.
Brilliant. Now, Akash, you just provided a variety of ideas along with just plain old linking up. You provide a lot of professional development and ideas as well, don't you?
Yes, Nora. And the particular one that we focus on is anti bias education or anti racist training in the foreign language classroom. So, through all of these connections that we facilitate, we are trying to bring in humans of color from different nationalities into the schools. So, when children meet these people, they see a brown, a black, a white man, or a woman in a positive light. They see this person who is a working professional, whether it's our volunteer from Afghanistan who's an engineer and speaks multiple languages and is video calling a classroom in Arizona. So students can now see people from Afghanistan in a positive light and
Hmm.
not associate them with some sort of a stereotype that has got to do with bombs and a war.
Hmm. Hmm. And there's a lot of passion in everything you do. There was also passion in your voice right then. What is it that leads you to this passion and this ongoing education and to the recognition of this need, these biases, and overcoming these biases?
It's a terrific question, Nora. That goes back to a few years ago when I came to the state of Oklahoma. I was in Iowa studying nuclear engineering the first semester in August of 2009. And then December, I decided I'm going to quit this because this is not for me. I moved to Oklahoma not knowing what I want to do. And then I end up getting my associates in liberal studies, my bachelor's in education, and get certified to become a high school math teacher and an elementary school teacher. I student teach my first assignment in a small rural community of less than 200 people in the whole town,
Mm.
where people had never seen somebody like me. And then I go into the schools and the classrooms, and the students are like, whoa, we've got a teacher who's Indian American. And he's teaching us about elephants and his work with sea turtles and traveling all over the globe. So that's where, Nora, I saw a need. I saw the children and I saw a gap in global education. I saw that a lot of these kids had never left their farming communities and they didn't know necessarily where Dubai or Mumbai or Johannesburg was on a map.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, had the privilege to have traveled to over 50 countries, speak six languages. So I was like, what can I do to bridge this gap? Because as one human, I can only do so much. But what if I bring in all of my contacts from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, from all of these different countries and video call them using Facebook video calling, WhatsApp, Skype, Google Hangout? Because back then in 2014, we didn't have Zoom. I mean, maybe we had it, but it wasn't as popular as it is during COVID 19 times.
Yeah.
So I mobilized this group of volunteers and created a small database that could video call my rural classrooms in Oklahoma. And then I realized, what if I shared this gift with teachers from all across the state of Oklahoma? And then slowly, what if I shared this gift with teachers from all across the United States? And that's what we do today. Today we have a database of over 1,000 John Lennons. I call them John Lennons because they do this for free.
Wow. Wow. And you just kept leveraging your friendships, your connections.
and the friends of friends of friends, because these friends have other connections. So they'll lead you to a giant network. And every time we facilitate a video call, the pictures from those calls help inspire action in folks who are like, oh, I think I could do this too.
That was where I was going to go next. It's not only that it's provided, but that it also demonstrates a pathway for others to take action in lives to make a difference.
Absolutely, Nora. And we have been predominantly serving American classrooms. So when the Americans saw the amount of global citizens, individuals from all over the world, chiming in their time and their talents to help American children learn about the globe, our Americans were inspired. They're like, what can we do to give back? So now I've got high school students, I've got teachers who are like, hey, I've got 20, 25 minutes of my time. Can I video call a classroom in Turkey? Or may I video call a classroom in Argentina and help a group of university students learn some English? So that's action civics.
Speak more about the action civics. What a great term. What are some of the other pathways that you reach, that you use to have others understand that concept and to engage in it?
Terrific, Nora. That action civics and empathy component is so important because I get, especially being in the South, sometimes backlash. They're like, why do you need to do all of these video calls? So I tell even the most conservative folks, hey, when I video call people from Sudan and Bangladesh and countries where children don't have the same resources as they do in the United States, that even though my scholars are from a Title I school, their poverty is not anywhere compared to the poverty of children in Africa or Asia. So that inspires empathy. And that empathy in turn inspires action. I'll give you a recent example. A group of kids Skyped a group of kids, or like video called on Zoom, a group of kids in the Kiribati Islands that are tiny atolls in the Pacific Ocean being flooded because of global climate change.
Okay.
So the children in Scottsdale, Arizona, the first question they asked the kids in Kiribati, what do you guys do for recess? And the children out there, they're like, we just go outside and jump in the water because their school's right across from the beach. So one of the children there remarked that, hey, very soon our school's going to be underwater
Wow.
and we are going to be climate refugees.
Wow.
So the teacher that we helped facilitate this call, the next morning she sends me a reflection of one of her inner city scholars from Scottsdale, Arizona, showing me a picture of that scholar's reflection with a bed. And the scholar said, hey, miss, I don't think I could do much to help these climate refugees from Kiribati, but I think I can share my bed with one of them.
Wow.
And that's powerful empathy in action. That even though this child lives in a Title One, studies at a Title One school in an impoverished community that doesn't have much himself, he still feels that he can make a difference in someone's life. And that's an important lesson in giving, that we don't have to be rich to make a difference in someone's life. And all of these video calls that we help facilitate, they're inspiring and sparking empathy and preparing our children to be the empathetic global citizens and giving citizens of tomorrow.
Akash, that's a beautiful story, and it reminds me then, what other ways of training those that may not know how to evoke those stories, what other events do you provide for those parents, those teachers, those administrators, those governmental legislators in order to demonstrate the power of what you've just shared here?
Nora, we've got plenty of resources at the nonprofit. What we need is a willing and a passionate teacher. Hey, the teacher may not be as well equipped, may not have facilitated over 1,000 calls in her classroom like I have, but hey, I need somebody who has the willingness to bring this to their classroom. It's like me adding Nora today on my cell phone and then calling her. It's
Yeah,
that simple.
that's simple.
Our nonprofit has made it so easy. You just reach out to us. We give you the contact. We even give you resources. Like we give you pre prepared questions that your students can ask in target language to the mystery hangout speaker. So
Wow.
we literally provide step by step on how you could facilitate these calls and how could you lead these calls into some action civics into your classrooms.
That's brilliant. And how is it then that these step by step, these resources that you are providing, they lead to the empathy, they lead to this direct action, this civics in action. One of the things that it came to me here recently, this very week, was about the General Assembly, the Global Engagement Summit, and helping educators to get engaged with understanding and working with sustainable development goals. Does that integrate the experiences that you're bringing, that you're talking about?
Absolutely. And I'm going to give you another example here, Nora.
Okay.
My classroom recently had the opportunity to video call one of our volunteers who happens to be the CEO of Community Recycling, an international nonprofit organization that recycles stuff in the United States and sends it to countries all over the globe. So the first question my scholars asked is like, wow, that's such a cool initiative. But what can I do being in Dallas, Texas? So the man, he sends us a box with shipping paid for. And he says, drop in your gently used clothes or your shoes and send that box back to me. So we send the box back to him and he video calls us again. And he's like, Bella, look at your shoes. They're going to the Philippines. Or, hey, Alexis, look at your shirt. They're going to children in Sudan. So for the first time, these kids at a Title I school had realized, again, that they didn't have to be rich to make a difference in someone's life. And we championed sustainable development goals through something as simple as a video call that sparked this empathy and this action that is dealing with climate change through these recycling processes, and it's helping uplift people out of poverty.
As a career educator and certified Gallup Strengths Coach, I engage with you and your team to bring energy, focus, and breakthroughs to all you do. Fluency Consulting provides workshops, presentations, talks, and team building events for K-16 educators and education-oriented organizations and businesses. Get energized, experience new insights, pathways, and perspectives. For more information, see our show notes or go to fluency.consulting.com. How do you make people aware? There are many examples of things that you have done in your biography. As I say, you have provided for my website also your TED Talk on global citizenship. What are some of the more effective ways that you've been able to get this message out to some of the grown-ups in the audience, shall we say?
Nora, there's a few resources that I want to discuss tonight, and of course, some are on your website. But I also want to reach out and give you a couple others, partners that are doing the same work that we do, but in a different avenue. Now, our job at our nonprofit predominantly revolves connecting children with global citizen adults from over 100 countries for free, live and for free whenever the teacher wants it. There are other organizations like empatico.org, which is sponsored by the Kind Snacks. This organization works with pre K through elementary classrooms, connecting classrooms to classrooms. Now, we don't connect classes to classes, we connect classes to humans, to global citizens. Then we've got Skype in the Classroom with Microsoft, another initiative that connects K through 12 and university classrooms with other classes. Or field trips. They even offer free virtual field trips where your students, without having to leave their Zoom classroom, can make it to the Yellowstone National Park. Or they could go to the Taj Mahal, and that too live and for free.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Thank you for distinguishing these different opportunities for learning and for growth coming from different organizations. And help those who may not be familiar with the Happy World Foundation. Why did you establish it?
Nora, in 2014, as I said, I was in Oklahoma, student teaching in a rural community. When I saw that spark in the eyes of the kids, when I introduced them to global experiences, I started a nonprofit called Global Experiences Foundation, a 501c3 organization. Now, fast forward 4 years, 2018, April of 2018, on the 9th of April, I lost my only sibling, my twin brother, Happy Patel, to a plane crash. So when I lost this 26-year-old young and dynamic human from my life, I was devastated. And I was like, what do I do to overcome my grief and to honor my twin's memory? So I sat down with my best friends and we were like, hey, I'm already running this initiative called Global Experiences because we all need global experiences. We all need this cross cultural understanding and this dialogue to help us dispel stereotypes and to become champions of anti racism and anti bigotry and anti prejudice. So, what do we do to honor his memory? We're like, why don't we just change this movement from global experiences to a happy world? Because the ultimate goal of global experiences is that all of us live in a joyful world free of bigotry and prejudice. So we changed the name of the nonprofit, we changed the logo to a globe with glasses that my twin brother used to wear, the happy glasses. There are glasses with no lenses in them. So we put the happy glasses on there and we changed the logo and it's called Happy World Foundation.
And that world has a brand new vision thanks to that memorial to your brother that's changing the world. Thank you for sharing that story, Akash.
No, thank you, Nora. And I want to just briefly address a couple other things too that the nonprofit does.
Please.
So, if there's any social entrepreneurs, any teachers who want to start their own ventures, we have a happy nonprofit clinic. So, it helps startup founders who want to start their own nonprofit organization file for exempt status pro bono. So, an attorney would charge you $2,000 or $3,000. We charge you nothing. And since my brother's passing, we've helped over 59 organizations across the United States file for exempt status with the IRS. Now, when my brother passed away and I was gone for his funeral and memorial for 3 weeks, the students at my school they raised $1,500 to give to my family for the funeral. My family was like, there's no way we could accept money from children, so we gave it back, and the children refused to take it, and they started a program called the Happy Meals for the Homeless.
Wow.
So ever since that year, we have dedicated over 10,000 meals to the homeless by matching every dime, and each year dedicating the same amount of money that my scholars donated to make sure inner city homeless people in the regions that we serve have access to nutritious meals. We've got a mentorship initiative. We've got a Global Ambassadors Leadership Institute that takes applications from teachers, from students, from change makers, and grassroots activists who want to become global citizens. It's a scholarship based program that we offer each year. It meets only 8 times on 8 Saturdays. We connect you with ambassadors, with global citizens, and we give you the opportunity to create change in your communities. We've got a Global Citizen Awards Gala program that honors global citizens from across the United States. And we have multiple other programs that you can access through our happyworldfoundation.us website.
That is a rich environment for folks to get a tremendous number of gifts available to them. And I can certainly speak to the uh, powerful experience of providing the pro bono work for helping others to set up nonprofits. That's that's the definitely sowing the seed for plenty of harvest in the years to come. What is it that your students seem to especially resonate with? Not just your students, but in general, what have you seen happen in young people's lives who have so much struggle sometimes with their own identities, or as I tend to be focused on in my work with finding their voice and listening to the voice of others? What are some of the most important things that you've seen happen?
Nora, firstly, I think bringing these global experiences has helped my students of all colors, whether it's white, black, brown, these students are now seeing individuals of color in professional settings. Folks who are career bound, who are wanting to become doctors or engineers and lawyers, and they're video calling my students to practice their language skills with them or to teach them about their country. So I've got this scholar in my classroom who comes from a very poor background, and he's a first generation, going to be a first generation college student if he makes it to college. He now sees people just like him doing incredible things in life. So, the one great thing I have seen out of this is children saying, "Hey, Mr. Patel, someday I'm going to be in Machu Picchu, and I'm going to take my mother there to Peru because I'm going to find a professional job and I'm going to go to college." So that's a powerful thing that we can gift to our kids. Because a lot of what's happening right now, Nora, you see the negativity around race relations. It's because we do not portray people of color in positive limelight. Everything in the media portrays these people of color doing negative things. So when we bring in these positive role models in the schools, it shows kids and that hey, there's something to aspire to, that someday I can travel to these countries, or someday I can look beyond the four walls of this classroom and beyond the four walls of the communities that they live in and aspire to the great things that are out there for them. And secondly, I'm a fairly new teacher. Now I've got 5 or 6 years experience in the classroom. But when I was a brand new teacher, the greatest challenge that I had, like most teachers do, is how do I manage a group of unruly scholars that don't want to sit in one place? So I was like, hey, if I video call people from Bangladesh and India, what I saw, Nora, is some of my most unruly scholars. They ask me questions like, Mr. Patel, why don't they have anything on their walls? And Mr. Patel, why do they have to walk for 30 minutes to make it to school? So that is the transformative power of empathy. That I didn't have to read a classroom management book to inspire a change in behavior or attitudes of these kids. It just happened naturally through the connections I fostered in my classroom.
Making connections helps naturally to flower.
Absolutely.
How have you seen that in educators? What are some of the stories that you have seen with educators that have been engaged in these experiences?
Since you're connecting with me from Virginia, one of your teachers, Virginia, she also happens to be a leader in the FLAVA organization or Foreign Language Association of Virginia, Joanna Smith, a high
Yes.
school teacher. And she started connecting after I did a keynote presentation in Virginia. She's like, Akash, I really want to try this out in my high school. So one day she sent me a text message. She's like, Akash, you know what? Recently at my school, there were scholars who were trashing the school building or who vandalized the school building and broke some windows around the school. So her high school Spanish classroom, they told her, hey, Miss Smith, I wish these vandals or these colleagues and friends of ours who vandalized the school, they were in your classroom and they were connecting with these people from Colombia and Venezuela so they could see how fortunate they are to live in the United States. That was
Wow.
such a powerful thing that she could have sent me that, Akash, those video calls that I fostered really changed the attitudes of my scholars. They're now so responsible to an extent that they also want to help the folks that are out there destroying the school property.
That's amazing. And that's a story from Virginia in this case. Do you see students then? Here you're talking about these scholars who have used their experience and wish to share that specific experience with their peers who have created this problem. What other stories have you seen of students that, having gone forward in the world, turn around and bring others along with them?
So, particularly, I want to address the impact that these calls has on language learning. How it inspires them to wake up and be like, hey, Mr. Patel, who are we calling this week? Or who are we going to be calling next week? So it's that excitement and that enthusiasm that something like this brings to them. And then they know that, oh, we connected with this person. So, for example, I had a group of Javan visiting scholars in my Exploring Languages classroom. This is a classroom where I introduce scholars to people from over 100 countries. Because the whole idea of this class is for them to explore the vast diversity of languages. So, this is pre COVID 19. I brought in actual individuals in the classroom, a group of Javan visiting scholars on Javan visas that are like temporary visas for exchange from Brazil came and spoke to my scholars about their country and taught them some basic words in Portuguese. So these guys, they so well bonded with my scholars that their last day they were working with my scholars, they gave them a soccer ball autographed by each one of them. And this was like a group of fifth graders. So they really, to this day, this is 3 years ago, they came and gave them the soccer ball. To this day, they play with that soccer ball, thinking that it came from real soccer players. But those are the kinds of relationships. Now, there was a classroom to classroom engagement where we connected a classroom in India with our peers in the United Kingdom and my scholars in Dallas, Texas. Now, right before their STAR exam, which is what we refer to our state mandated tests, the group of scholars from India and the United Kingdom gave my scholars a surprise video call. They called my scholars, they were out there in a field or like on their playground with flags of the United States, United Kingdom, and India, and they performed a dance and they were like, hey guys, good luck on your exam.
Wow.
So it's all about the relationships we build because, yes, there's impact on empathy, or yes, it's helping language learning, but it is about the joy it brings to kids. And a lot of times, our scholars just need that joyful experience. You don't know what they're going through. Several of mine have gone through things that are unimaginable that I can only empathize with because I've never lived through those stories. But I know I can give them a safe haven. I can give them a place that's joyful, that they look forward to every morning, and they're like, Mr. Patel, who are we going to call tomorrow? That's what I'm looking for. I want them to have a joyful experience, and that joy lead them to their passions, or that joy lead them to their life's calling.
When joy leads to life's calling. Akash, you have so much positivity. It flows out in everything you do, meaningfully so. You're careful with your words. Here's one word, for example, that it's neat that you consistently use the word scholars, where so many would say students. Why do you pick that word? What is it doing for your scholars and those that are around them in the educational and community experience?
That's a terrific question, Nora. And that word scholar, there used to be a time when I would call them, refer to them as students. So just like I expressed to you, that our job at the nonprofit is to portray humans of color, whether they be white, black, or brown, in such a positive light that the media often does not. So that when children look up to these people, they look up to people from Afghanistan as positive role models and not as what they see on the TV. So, in the same way, I think when you lower the standards, when you use, I'm not saying students is a bad word, but I think it's about the standards that you set for your scholars. When I use the word scholar, I know they are set to a higher standard than the rest of them. That they're expected to be bilingual. They're expected to be the global citizens of tomorrow. They're expected to be empathetic global citizen Americans who will use their privileges and freedoms in this country to uplift those in other countries around them. And that's why I use the term scholar, because I think very highly of them. And I know they can get to that scholarly level. I know they can motivate themselves and their communities and lift anybody out of the whatever condition they're in to excellence and to greatness. And that's why that we've got to change the narrative. We've got to bring in the positives. We've got to lift, those standards and expectations. And when you start treating them or referring to them as scholars, they start manifesting themselves into a scholarly way of life.
When one chooses one's words carefully and especially purposefully, like you've just done, it sends the message. What other words have you found to be especially powerful to provide that uplifting, educating, and empowering experience for your scholars, for their parents, guardians, the community, administrators? What are some other key words that you've established, Akash?
Nor as a foreign language educator, two words that mean the world to me and for the passionate work that we do at Happy World is global citizens. That not only are my scholars going to be the scholars of tomorrow, but they will be global citizens. Last year was a prime example of bigotry and prejudice and racism and all of the negatives that you could think about in terms of race relations or relations between folks of different countries and different nationalities and different religions. But we know that when we start young in the public schools, in the K through 12 schools, when children are young, yes, they may have racist beliefs or they may have stereotypes of others, but you know that they were not born with these beliefs. They come to your classroom and you have that incredible opportunity to mold their minds and their attitudes without having to tell them what to do. Your curriculum itself is so rich of anti racist, anti bigotry experiences, and so multicultural and multilingual that it naturally molds them to seek the truth. And the truth in this case is that all of us humans are the same, regardless of where we come from. We all have the same aspirations for our family members, for our loved ones. And that's what my scholars experience in this global citizenship curriculum in my classroom. That there's a human from Equatorial Guinea that's dark skinned, to there's somebody who's fair skinned in Mexico or from any other part of the globe, but they're all ultimately the same regardless of whether they're Catholic, Christian, Jew, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist. They all share the same aspirations. And that's such a powerful way, to help children preview their misconceptions, like you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, to help them realize that we're all the same, which is a powerful way of promoting peace and understanding in the hearts and minds of our children.
That it is. And I certainly am going to continue to encourage anyone that's listening to this podcast to check out my website with all of the resources that you have provided, and to check out certainly your website to be provided those tools, insights, opportunities for themselves and for their scholars. Akash, as much as I would like to be able to do this for hours, I'm afraid I'm going to have to turn to you at this particular point and say that I would really like, though, for you to take these last few minutes to do the following. If you would turn emotionally to those who are listening to this podcast and give them one last invitation, exhortation, warning. You've provided so many opportunities for thought. What's the last thing that you want to say to our listeners?
Nora, I want to tell your listeners tonight that, hey, I know these are hard times. These are unprecedented times when even teachers are struggling. They're burned out. They're like, what do I do to not just take care of myself, but also to bring joy and life into my classroom? We at Happy World are committed to improving the educational quality of the experiences that scholars receive in their classroom, and we are here to support educators who are willing to bring in the global experiences into their classroom. So I just want to appeal to the educators or to the administrators or to the community members who are tuning in. Hey, it's as simple as adding a contact that somebody you just recently met on your phone and dialing and calling them. That's how easy it is. You just have got to reach out to us and be like, hey, I want to get started and I want to connect with somebody from the Spanish speaking world or from the Italian speaking world or from Asia, Africa, Antarctica, or any other part of the world. Or I just want to take my students on a virtual field trip because we are tired of these COVID-19 lockdowns. We have got the resources to make that happen in your classroom and to help you bring joy, to help you spark empathy, global citizenship, cross cultural understanding, and action civics in your classroom.
Thank you very much, Akash. That is a wonderful invitation, a wonderful exhortation, and thank you for those wonderful opportunities. It's been such a pleasure to just have a fantastic conversation with you. And thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you, and thank you for inspiring others that are doing amazing work.
And thank you, Nora, for your leadership for compiling these stories. Because how inspiring, even just being able to tune into a podcast and transforming the life of one educator. This is just such a powerful way of reaching folks during an unprecedented set of time. So I want to send my heartfelt commendation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I wish you well, your scholars well, and please keep on being happy and sharing that with the world. Thanks, Akash.
Thank you, Nora.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please share it with your friends, family, and colleagues. Let's continue the conversation. Be sure to check out my website, fluencyonline.com, to learn more about our guests and to check out the resources and information they've shared with us there. I have other ideas, resources, and opportunities there for you too. Again, thanks so much for listening, and until next time.